This is a ManeHustle Media podcast.
It sounds like one of the names they would have for a monarch. It's like Queen Jhavia the First, Black Radical Queer, Queer Negro Women.
All the way from the A, you listen to my favorite lesbian on BRQ.
Hey, stay locked in with your favorite lesbian and Black Radical Queer. Yeah.
Hey y'all, this is Jhavia Nicole, aka your favorite lesbian, and you're listening to Black Radical Queer Podcast, our stories on our own terms. Hey y'all, this is Jhavia Nicole. Welcome to another episode of Black Radical Queer Podcast. So as usual, I'm going to allow my guest to introduce himself, and then we will get right into our conversation.
Hi, I am Kenni York. I am an author and the founder of the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation Incorporated, which is an organization that provides resources to sexual abuse survivors and spreads awareness about sexual assault throughout the metro Atlanta, Georgia area.
All right, so we're going to talk about Kenni's writing as well as the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation. Because I think both are definitely important. I know that she writes a lot of different things, so I'll kind of let her give you all more information about that. In addition to being an author who it seems like is writing all the damn time, because if you check the receipts and you see all the damn titles, I'm like, geez, it's a lot. So if you go on Amazon and look for Kenni York, you'll see all the titles. And it is a lot of them. But she also is a mother. So, she's holding that down, writing her behind off all the time, apparently. And also has the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation. So I think that's, it's a lot. But I think it's pretty awesome. So I guess for, just so that my listeners can get to know a little bit more about you, I guess just kind of let us know about your writing, just general stuff, where you're from, what you have out right now, where they can find your stuff, that kind of stuff.
Well, general stuff, I'm from Atlanta, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I write different genres, different topics, and majority of my work can be found on Amazon.com. And in case you're one of those people who are like me and you prefer to have a good old-fashioned book in hand, some of my titles can be found in various retailers like Walmart, Target, Books A Million, and Barnes & Noble.
So I mentioned that she has a lot of titles. So that would be its own episode talking about all the titles. So what is your most recent thing that you've worked on, or are you working on something right now?
The most recent thing that I've worked on, I've released a short story earlier this month that's a little different for me. It is a vampire story that came out, I believe, on the 1st of February, and it's entitled A Savage Stole My Soul. So if you're someone who likes paranormal and supernatural reads, then this might be up your alley. For me, it was different. I don't typically dabble in this particular genre, but it was fun. It was interesting. Will I do it again? I'm not sure.
Like, I don't know, but I did it though.
I did it.
So how did that happen, since it was something that was not the norm for you? How did you even end up writing a vampire? First of all, it's A Savage Stole My Heart. I'm just like, I'm already like,
soul.
So my soul.
Yeah.
So I'm already a little nervous. I'm just like, stealing souls? What's going on around here? But it was something new for you. So how did that happen?
Trying to be cute one day, I posted a status on Facebook telling my followers to leave me in the comments, to leave me a word or a topic or something that they wanted me to cover, and that I would take all of their ideas and words and incorporate it into one story. So when you open that Pandora's box, you get all kinds of crazy stuff. This is how we got the vampire thing, because I would have never come up with that on my own. So, yeah. I took what they came up with and... You incorporated everybody's ideas? Listen, I had to shut it down because it was all the way left. So I couldn't use everybody, so I think I capped it off at the first 10, I think it was. Okay. That's fair. Then I just went from there. I could not do it. I mean, kudos to anyone who has been able to do it. And maybe I will go back and try it again. Who knows? Who died? Who knows? But I think I capped it off at the first 10. And I think that it came out fairly well, if I must say so myself. I do. I mean, I just feel like when people start commenting, you know, you end up writing a vampire story about a vampire in the hood running for president. Like, I don't know, it would just be wild because folks are just going to try to think of the most bizarre, absurd things that they can just to try to challenge you. You know, they're just like, is she going to do this for real? So was it, since that was something that was a departure from the genres, even though you know, have written in a lot of different genres, since that one was different, was it difficult? Like, was it a challenge? It was definitely a challenge because I know nothing about no damn vampires, so I had to do some research and read little bits and pieces of more popular vampire type stories, ask questions of other people who I know have some kind of familiarity with the genre, so I needed help. I am not afraid to say I needed help. So but I think something that could be a good thing though is because it was such a different like genre for you to approach, that you know, have the opportunity to create this image, you know, or this like story behind a vampire that is just very different from what's already been done. Because, you know, people who are predominantly writing these stories, that's what they focus on. They focus on those paranormal, supernatural kind of stories, so that's their genre, like they focus on that. And since you're coming from a wide range of genres, like, you know, you've done some of everything, please, that might be the only thing that's missing was the vampire story. So being able to pull from a lot of different experiences from your writing, you get to create something that is just not like anything else that's out there. Well, I certainly hope that readers have that opinion of the short story when they pick it up or when they read it. Another thing that I really liked about this particular writing was that I put a little lesbian spin on it. So I had a reader say to me, "You know, some lesbian vampire stuff going on in here." Yes, sir. Surprises all over the place. I'm automatically interested. See, that already sets it apart though, because I'm like, who is out here putting any type of like lesbian type of, you know, spin on a vampire story? Yeah, they gotta spice it up a little bit. Well, that's awesome. I think that it's cool that you took the risk to, for one, ask for people to throw out ideas, knowing that folks can get real off the wall. And then actually taking those things and making it happen, and challenging yourself to do something different. So, I mean, it's like at this point, I honestly don't know what genre you haven't touched, since you've added that. But I mean, which I think is really dope. I know for me, that's definitely not a skill that I have. Like I love to write. I'm passionate about writing, and I like to do a lot of different things. But when it comes to writing, I feel like my writing is very, it's not, I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's not very diverse. Like I
I stick to what my thing is. So I don't really branch out very much. I've tried to branch out a little bit, and I wasn't very happy, I guess. Like, I just was like, this isn't as good as my, like, what I typically go for. So I just kind of let it go. So when I see, you know, folks who can actually write different genres and do them well, like, you know, actually have that strong writing in multiple genres, that's not an easy thing. So did you have anything, like any genre in particular that you started with and then you branched out from there, or did you always just kind of write from a bunch of different perspectives?
I've always kind of been all across the spectrum. My first book was a murder mystery. My second book was a poetry book. And then my third book was a self-help book. So I've never stayed in one box. I've always jumped around. Always.
That is so crazy. I mean, it's like, that's so dope to me. As somebody who, like, cannot really, like, I know that's not my ministry. I'm not going to even, you know, but it's just so, it's so dope that you're, you know, that's something that you're able to do. So, yeah, I just think it's cool. That's one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on, because when I was just looking through all the different, I was like, really? You know, it's unpredictable. You know, you don't really just, a lot of times, you know, folks have their, like, series, or they just write, they stay in the same little arena. And so as I was looking through, I'm like, wait a minute, what's this? This is totally different, you know. I just thought that was really cool to see. Especially a black woman, especially a black lesbian woman. So I'm already like, look at this. I'm about to take my pom-poms and all that kind of stuff, because I'm like, you know, black women always do it better. But I'm biased. My listeners know I'm very biased. So there was actually a one before because I do want to talk some about the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation too. But before that, it's like a couple of titles that I want to ask about, so that you can kind of give some insight into, like, a little about the plot, just so that listeners can hear the different types of things that you have to offer, and then they can just go check it out for themselves. But I know for me, I'm kind of a little bit all over the place, so I'll, like, start reading this. I got about 4 I'm just, like, reading. It's all bad. Don't judge my life. But I'll kind of, like, read a few pages of one, read this, read that. It's just crazy. But because I'm just so fascinated. I'm like, how can you write all these different types of things? So it's just dope to me. But one of the titles that definitely caught my attention was I Never Knew My Father. For me, it's like, I have my own stuff with that, so that's I mean, like, it's like I know my father, but that's his own thing. But it caught my attention because just that, for one, the title, it was like a knee jerk, like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So what is that about?
Well, I Never Knew My Father is not actually a book or anything like that. It's actually a monologue that I wrote in observance of National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is in April, and that was done in 2013. The monologue is my story. It's my sexual abuse testimony, and it is about my my encounter or my situation with my dad. So the point of the monologue is for people to read it and get to know a little more about me intimately, you know, what drives me to do the things that I do through the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation. This me putting the monologue up like this on Amazon is kind of me opening the door to who I am for my readers, to learn a little more about me, to get to know me a little more personally. The money from sales for I Never Knew My Father is donated back to the organization. So everything kind of goes full circle. Anything that has anything to do with pill or sexual assault awareness, anything that I do in relation to sexual assault awareness, always comes back to the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation. So anytime somebody one click through Amazon, I never knew my father, it's kind of like you're donating to the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation, because that's where the money's going to go.
That one stood out to me just because of, I mean, I have my own little, which I may or may not have. Well, I know I've definitely mentioned to my listeners that, about having sexual assault in my past and stuff like that, but I don't know if I've ever really gone into it. But just kind of seeing how that connected to the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation, and because I went on there and I read through your bio and read through, the things that kind of what led you to create that entity. So I just think it's important. It's definitely important that, for one, it's brave to even share your story. I mean, because when you go through stuff like that, we are survivors of sexual assault and stuff like that are silenced so much, So I think that it's brave, but it's also necessary. And then it helps, folks who are not able to either share their story, or they're not comfortable, or it's not safe for them, or those kind of things. So let them know that they're not alone. So that's definitely, I think is, definitely something that's an important issue, and that it can be very vulnerable, but also it takes a lot to be able to just kind of look past that and see, hey, how can I utilize this to impact other people? But I'll circle back to that because I want to ask about a couple more titles. So
Sure.
the other, another title that I saw that, it's two other ones, but one of them, I'll say that was last. So the next one, it's Karma. So Karma, it looks like there's a series, which I didn't initially realize. I saw Karma. I think I ended up coming across Karma 2 first, and I was like, wait, 2? So let me backtrack so I can find the first one. So I was kind of, so I was just all up on 2, and I was like, wait, this is 2, so I got to backtrack. But then once I looked back again, I was like, oh, wait, because the thing is, when I looked up your books and stuff like that, it didn't show them in order. So I was just all over the place. So I was kind of going in order of me finding stuff. Then but that was because I just went through kind of Google Books, where it shows you information on authors. Once I saw that stuff was on Amazon, then it became a little more clear. So I think from what I saw, there's 4 in the Karma series, or is there more than that?
Yeah. No, there are 4.
Okay, so what's going on with that series?
Up until recently, the trend has kind of shifted now. But up until recently, that series has been my best-selling work. Let me rephrase. My best-selling self-published work. Period. And the series is it's all fiction, and it's about a girl who is the product of an affair. So her dad is a well-known pastor in Atlanta, and her mom was one of the members of his church. And this is fiction, you say? This is fiction.
This is fiction. Okay. Sounding real true.
He and the mom had an affair, which produced our main character, whose name is Mickey. So Mickey grows up in her entire life being kept a secret. And then her mother dies. But all she had was her mom and then her dad whenever he would leave his family and come around. But of course, he's never really going to leave his family, right? He's married, has his own kid over here in a nice home, well taken care of. And then there's Mickey, and there was her mother that he kept over here in another part of town where no one knew anything about them. So then the mom dies. And Mickey's pissed because there goes her whole life. Even though this man is still down to take care of her, it's like he's trying to buy her silence. So the entire series is about her doing what she thinks is getting justice for the way her life has turned out. But it's
Wow.
one of those situations and one of those series where I tell readers, definitely make sure you read all the way until the end, because it isn't until you get to the last page of the last book that you realize that everything we thought was going on may not be exactly what was going
Oh
on.
man. So you messing with folks' minds. Oh my goodness. So I don't know. It's like I was just for those I was like, let me just kind of go through and see like, you know, Amazon, how it gives you kind of the little synopsis and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, let me just kind of go through and see where I want to start, because I'm always down to read something. So let's see. Man, I didn't even know. See, I didn't even know it was about to be all of that. So now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to go through here and read this so I can see what happens in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be interesting. And then the last title I wanted to ask you about, because y'all are gonna have to just go online and actually look at all these titles, because we're not about to go through every single one, because there's a lot. So you have to go through and see what piques your interest. But I feel like personally that you do have something for everybody. So
Mm-hmm.
if you like fiction, there's plenty of that. If you like nonfiction, self-help, or just even something that's like kind of motivational, whatever, you'll be able to find something that can, you know, resonate with you. So just go through, read the synopsis, see what, you know, kind of sticks out. But that's my little plug. Okay, but the other title I wanted to ask about was Striving for Happily Ever After. I want to see what that one was about.
Striving for Happily Ever After was my third book. My third, I was going to say major publication, but I won't even get into that. But anyway, so it's a self-help book, if you will, and it's about marriage. At the time, I was married, so I wasn't writing about anything that I didn't know. I was writing about exactly what I did know. And I was writing from a place of where I was at that time in my marriage. So just some advice or tidbits on how to nurture your relationship, how to keep other people out of your business for the sake
Say
of
that.
your relationship. And that's just what that was. So I kind of wish that I could go back and write a whole new book or a part 2 to it, or maybe instead of it being a part 2 per se, we'll write about being divorced, because I am divorced. So
I was just gonna say, I think that will be an amazing follow up, honestly, because I have a couple of people close to me who are going through divorce, and I think it's I don't see a lot of stuff about that, marriage and divorce from the perspective, from a lesbian perspective, from a black lesbian perspective. I think that it could be really, really impactful. I know that one of the things that I have done, like on my show, like my wife and I will, you know, answer people's questions and stuff like that, because we don't really have we don't have those people kind of just in our media and stuff like that. We don't have a lot of people we can look to who provide that like feedback or provide that advice or whatever to black lesbian couples or black LGBT folks. It's just very, when you look at stuff about marriage, divorce, whatever, it's very straight. It's targeted towards straight people. And even though I do feel like there are parallels, like I feel like, you know, there are some foundational things that are applicable to your relationship regardless of your orientation, I still think it's important to have that visibility and to be able to get the information from the perspective of someone who can kind of understand better, because it's different. It's not, being with a woman and being with a man is not the same. It's just not. So I think it's important to be able to like have that perspective. So if you choose to circle on back to it, I definitely think it would be important to to talk about divorce, because I mean, it's something difficult to navigate, and I think it'll be really helpful, you know, to just have your perspective.
We shall see. Anything is possible in the future.
So I want to circle back to Let Your Voice Be Heard, the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation. So I ended up actually seeing a post about $2 Tuesdays. That's what, you know, ended up catching my attention. And so I'm like, what's this? So I went ahead and looked at it. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and just give $2, even though I didn't know like the full information, but I was just like, whatever. I trust, you know, my friend who is posting this, so I'm just going to donate, and then I'll look at the stuff later. So like I saw like the quick little blurb, and I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and donate. And then I went to the site and just started like reading everything. And I got to read, you know, your bio, your story and stuff, and I'm just like, oh Lord, now I'm in my feelings. But I just thought that it was so, important. It's such an important foundation. So you mentioned it earlier. You kind of gave information about what the foundation is for, but I wanted for the listeners to be able to know what led you to create the foundation, how long it's been around, and if folks want to get involved, what they can do.
Well, what led me to create the organization, in all honesty, there was never supposed to be an organization. I wanted to do something within my immediate community that would be my way of giving back. But I didn't want to just write a check to somebody else's organization or foundation. And I didn't want to just attach myself to somebody else's cause, especially if it wasn't something that was necessarily significant to me. So the best thing that I could think of was something that meant something to me, was giving back to other survivors of sexual assault, because I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And I wanted to do something to uplift other people who hadn't yet found their voice or gotten themselves on the road to survivorship, or maybe were still stuck in a victim mentality or a victim type situation. So I created an event in 2013. It was just an event, and it was just called Let Your Voice Be Heard. And I partnered with a rape crisis center that was in my county. And it was kind of like a talent showcase. Got everybody to come out in the name of raising awareness. We went around different neighborhoods in Atlanta promoting the show and speaking out about sexual violence. And we raised a lot of money for the Rape Crisis Center. It was a very stressful thing, and I swore I did not want to ever do it again. And that night, after the event was over, and I was so relieved that it was over, because, you know, for me, it was like, oh, shit, I don't ever have to worry about this again. I got so many phone calls, emails, text messages. It was to the point where I had to shut my phone off so that I could fall asleep and decompress, because it was just so much. Until the next day when I turned the phone back on and read the messages, and I saw that what we did that night really was impacting those who were connected to the cause or have some testimony of their own. I had a man come up to me that night and say, thank you for giving us a safe space and a platform to come together and share our stories or listen to other people share their testimonies and encourage each other. He said, it never happened to me, but it happened to my sister. And listening to all of the testimonies and the poetic pieces that were shared and just everything that happened that night, he said it gave him a sense of understanding about what it is or what it was that his sister was going through, so that he could relate to her better and maybe better be there for her well after the fact. And that meant a lot to me. That was more important to me than the money, than how much money we raised for the organization, because I didn't see a penny of it. Everything we raised went to the organization that we were doing it for. So for about 4 years, I did it as just an event that we were doing to support other organizations in the Atlanta area that were supposed to be supporting or helping survivors. And I have a business partner who's been in it with me since that first year. She came on as the DJ. She volunteered her services as the DJ for that night. And after she saw exactly what I had put together, she asked to have a meeting with me and said, I think that you're onto something great here. Let me help you. So that we can make a greater impact. And so she's been with me ever since. And so year 5 came around and I said, you know what? I didn't think we were going to make it this far. I never intended to. So let's go ahead and incorporate. Let's go ahead and become our own entity. Let's go ahead and raise money on behalf of just the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation so that we can take those funds and put it back into the community and do all of these different programs that I've come up with ideas for so that we can go on our own out into the community and do outreach and not have to do it through another organization. So that way that I know.
You can stand on your own.
Right. That way I know the money is being used for what it's supposed to be used for. That way I know exactly what is happening when we say we're supporting resources for survivors because we are the ones issuing the resources to the survivors. I want it to be more hands-on. So this is our 7th year of raising awareness, our 3rd year as an incorporated entity. And that's what we do. We go out into the community. We do different events, different workshops. We have a hotline for people who just need to vent or you need information, you need some resources, you need to be pointed in the right direction. That hotline is 24 hours and it's solely ran by volunteers, by members of my staff. We do the annual event. It started out as just an event, and so we kept that, and so we still do it every year, but now we try to make it more family oriented. So we do what's called the Chill Walk, always in a park in Atlanta, and it gives you an opportunity to bring your children out, bring your sister, your neighbor, whoever out, have fun, view some great talent. We always have great talent acts, have some good food, walk and get your healthy strut on, but learn more about the epidemic and support our efforts to raise funds so that we can continue our programming and our projects and our events so that we can continue to be there for survivors. We also we still do support other organizations and other movements that are similar to ours. Together we can make a greater impact than we can just by ourselves. And so one of the movements that we are really big on supporting right now and advocating for is the Mute R. Kelly movement. And it may not be a popular thing. I don't know how your viewers or listeners feel about that, but we support the Mute R. Kelly movement.
Absolutely. My listeners already know. I don't play that. So, yeah. So, yeah, I'm about that Mute R. Kelly life. I cannot with him. He should have been muted a long time ago.
A long time ago. Exactly. And we've been hosting a series of virtual forums since the release of the Surviving R. Kelly docuseries. And the reason we started doing the forum was because night 1 that docuseries aired, my phone was off the hook. I was getting messages through inbox, screenshots of just messages of people needing to vent because they were feeling traumatized by what they saw on television or what they heard or what they saw people posting on social media.
I was just about to say post, yeah.
Yeah. The hotline was going off in the middle of the night. And, so I didn't sleep at all. I got no sleep in a 24-hour time period as a result of this Surviving R. Kelly docuseries. And I called my business partner as soon as the sun came up. I'm like, I'm up, you about to be up too. So I said, listen, we have to do something, and we have to do something now, because there's like a public outcry. People are outraged. People are traumatized all over again. For me, I even experienced a level of being re-traumatized just from watching people post on social media. Night one, I did not watch the docuseries. I didn't want to see it because I could imagine. But just seeing the things that people
I didn't watch. I was like, I'm not watching it because I'm not trying to be triggered. But the post still,
yeah. And what struck me what did it for me was Black women who passionately were defending R. Kelly and therefore tearing down other women or Black women who were offended by what he's done, who were calling for
I can't understand. I can't understand. Like, I actually, in an episode, I was talking to my listeners about, because I posted on Facebook, and I was like, I'm really tired of people, basically, what I said was calling our girls fast, but putting the blame on children. I'm like, it's a problem. These are children. I don't care what this person looks like. I don't care what she has on. I don't care about any of that. This is a child. He's an adult. They're children. And so it really just, it pisses me off. It's like, it blows my mind that so many grown ass people are comfortable with putting that responsibility on children when he's a predator. And so seeing those posts about, oh, well, y'all know these girls are fast, or these girls wanted to do this and the third. I'm like, these aren't, like, they're children. I don't understand why is this even a conversation? They are children and he's an adult, period. It's not okay. But just seeing so many people support him or be like, oh, well, where's the evidence, or they wanted to do, I can't understand it. I don't understand.
Right. And that was kind of our standpoint on it as well. And then I even had people that were like publicly insulting me because of things that I was saying on my page, on my personal page. And I'm like, okay, you're not going to attack me for my beliefs. For me, this is a black and white issue. There is no gray. Right is right and wrong is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so, I don't know, it just became a thing, and I said, okay, well, we need to do something. We need to host some kind of a public forum, give people a safe space to say how they feel, and try to encourage the general public to be mindful of what they're saying and where they're saying. Because you may be sitting up here defending R. Kelly and just making it sound like, oh, rape culture is just all the rage. But then your cousin can be someone who's being victimized and they are a survivor or they have been abused, but they will never tell you now because now you've let them know that there is no safe space. Now you've let them know that you feel as if it's their fault that whatever happened.
And they feel like if you feel that way, then other people feel that way too. It's like people might be like, oh, well, I'm just one person, but you having that response, especially if you were that person they were considering telling, they'll be like, you know what, everybody's going to feel that way, so I'm not telling anybody.
Right. Words are powerful in one way or another. Words are powerful, so we have to be careful and mindful of what we say because you never know who's paying attention to what it is that you're saying. And just being downright mean, like people are just nasty. What's the cost to that? Why?
Right. Why? I'm like, you're going out of your way to support like that's what I don't understand. So I'm like, y'all are going so hard to support this person who ain't doing nothing for you. Like, I don't get it. I was really struggling. I'm just like, why are y'all going so hard for him? And what it is because a lot of folks can see themselves in him. A lot of folks know the R. Kelly in their family. You know, they know that person who's like, oh, this is the father or the uncle or the brother who everybody loves, or, oh, this person's so talented or whatever. And so you're willing to just sweep under the rug all the predatory things that they do because you're like, oh, or they just dismiss it and they say, oh, well, that's the uncle that you don't go around because you know. But nobody ever, like, I had that person in my family who, that was the uncle that you don't go around him, don't be alone with him or whatever. The responsibility was put on the children, on the young girls, like, hey, don't, you know what I'm saying, go around him or whatever. But nobody ever called him the fuck out for being a predator and for, you know, touching on little girls and stuff. So I'm just like, I feel like that's part of it is everybody knows an R. Kelly, like they personally know someone who is similar. And so they feel like, oh, if I speak out against this, like, I got to kind of look at myself in the mirror and look at who else am I not holding accountable, or am I not holding myself? Am I that person? You know, so they're just defending him so strongly, and it's disgusting to me, honestly.
I agree, and I don't know what else to say about that. I absolutely agree, and we support the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation. Wholeheartedly support the Meet R. Kelly movement. A couple of weeks ago, we had one of the co-founders of the movement on Facebook Live with us during one of our virtual forums, so that, you know, she could go ahead and dispel some myths and explain where and when and how long ago the Meet R. Kelly movement came into play and the mission of it and all that great stuff. And this interview can be found on our Facebook page, Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation's Facebook page. It's there. So we just want to encourage.
I was just going to ask, how often do you do the forums on Facebook? Like, when do they happen?
Well, this series came out of necessity following the docuseries.
Oh, okay. So it's specifically to that.
That particular series was, but we have decided that we will move forward with having these conversations monthly, and each month we'll bring someone different on, because we don't want people to think that we are fixated on R. Kelly. He's just one problem, part of the problem.
He represents a larger problem. You know, he's just in the limelight, but
now,
definitely the only one.
So our goal is to bring on other people who are doing their part in the movement, period, to end sexual violence, not just against women. I was about to say against women, but sexual violence in general, whether it's happening to women or males. And we want to encourage dialogue between advocates and just general people in the community, because a lot of times people speak on things that they don't know about. And so if you knew what the hell you were talking about.
Say that. Wait, hold on. Let's rewind. One more time for the people all the way in the back. What people do what now? What happened?
If people knew what it was that they were talking about, then maybe their verbiage would change, and maybe the language would change, and maybe their point of view would change if you really knew what the hell it is that you were talking about.
So the whole sermon right there. Just saying. The whole sermon.
We want people to become enlightened. We want people to become more knowledgeable about sexual violence and what it entails. I remember saying in one interview that sometimes people are in a sexually abusive situation and you don't even damn realize it. You don't realize it because we have normalized this behavior, and we've started to accept these behaviors as normal, and it's not as something that just happens and it's unjust. And you don't have to accept that crap. But if you don't know any better, then you're just going to keep on going on, and it's going to be a perpetual cycle. But we want to break those chains. We want people to become knowledgeable about what sexual violence entails, and we want people to feel comfortable with speaking in a safe space. We always encourage people to don't come for us when we're doing these interviews or these live forums. We take it very seriously, so we don't allow any trolling. We don't allow any disrespectful comments or statements to be made to our guests or people that are in our chat room. So we make sure that we keep a tight lid on that because we want people to feel comfortable with sharing with us and, just telling their truth. So that's what that is all about, and we're hoping to do that, like I said, monthly. It's one of those things where you really got to just check back with us if you're doing it that month.
And I can always do an update. Like I'll, in the notes and stuff, I make sure that folks have the information so they know how to access it on social media.
Sure.
I think it's really important because, like you mentioning, people may be experiencing sexual assault or sexual violence and not even know it. I was one of those people. So I definitely understand that. And I think just because we live in a society that is where rape culture is prevalent and where we need to have more conversations about consent so that people understand implicit and explicit consent and that that actually exists and that, you can give explicit, you can withdraw your consent at any time, those types of things. I'm going to be participating in a conference that's like a consent summit where all of the topics and everything will be revolving around consent. And for like my little component is about like how that relates to wellness and just different stuff like that. But it's just so important, and that's a big part of what you mentioned when you were talking about folks not knowing. It's because there's so much about violence and consent and all that folks just don't know or that we don't talk about. So we feel like we just have to accept certain things, or we've normalized behaviors that should not be normal. We've normalized very violent, unacceptable behaviors. And so it took me actually going through intimate partner violence. I had already dealt with the sexual assault like as a child and other stuff, but it took me going through intimate partner violence and experiencing that by the person I was in a relationship with to have a better understanding that, like, hold up, like, this is not how this is supposed to be. Like, I don't have to, if I don't want to do this, I don't have to do this, that kind of thing. But we're not told that. Like, that's not how that's not the conversation we have. People are like, oh, well, you're together. There's like, you're obligated to do stuff or whatever. You're obligated to have sex. You're obligated to engage with your partner in this way. It just comes with the territory of the relationship instead of people saying, hey, you don't have to, like, if you don't want to, you don't have to, period. I don't care if you're married, relationship, friends with benefits, I don't care what you got going on. It's not an obligation. Like, you don't have to do something that you don't want to do. So, yeah, it's definitely an important conversation. So I'll have to just include the information about Let Your Voice Be Heard and just where folks can find you all. So when you do the monthly forums, are they going to be through the Facebook page? Like you go live on the Facebook page? Okay.
Yes.
So for, all my listeners, make sure that you check out the Let Your Voice Be Heard Facebook page and then the website too. Because the website has a lot of information. It has the information about the Till Walk. It has background information on the founders, just all of that good stuff, so that you can get more information about kind of where it came from and then the work that they're still doing today. And then y'all need to get in on these $2 Tuesdays because it's only a couple bucks, but if a lot of us actually do that, then, that's going to multiply very quickly. And so even though I know that it's like a small amount, I definitely believe in the power of that multiplying and being able to really be put to good use. So, yeah, support. Y'all know I'm about supporting my folks, so support. couple dollars. You spend more than that on everything. So it's not, not too much to just contribute to the organization. So before I wrap up, I just wanted to see if there was anything that you wanted to add. Do you have anything coming up that you want to plug, any of that kind of stuff?
Well, definitely the one thing, and I've already mentioned it, that we do have coming up in April that we're gearing up for is the Till Walk, which is our annual benefit event for National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is in April. And Till Walk is on April 27th this year, which is a Saturday. And it's a good time. We'll have vendors and food. We have a cute little activity area for the children. It's called Capri Suns and Color, so they'll be doing their own version of the sip and paint type thing. And then, of course, it is a time to walk. Cute. I thought it would be cute. And, of course, the actual walk is a time to walk, and there are awards awarded to the first few winners to come in or to complete the race. So it's a nice family-friendly, oriented type of an event for a great cause. And if you're not in the Atlanta area, but you still would like to support what it is that we're doing, $2 Tuesdays, like you said, are a great way to provide support, financial support to us. And it's just $2. And if you feel like donating more, then by all means. But every Tuesday, we are promoting $2 Tuesdays. And also, if you want to sponsor a walker for the Till Walk, that can be done as well by visiting our website, the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation.org, and just click on the Till Walk link, and you can pay for the registration, and then, just let us put it in the name of whoever you are sponsoring. That's another great way to support the organization and support the Till Walk itself. So there you have it.
Well, to all my folks in Atlanta, I do have a lot of listeners in Atlanta because that's where I'm from. So a lot of my peoples are there. So definitely make sure you look up Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation, look into the Till Walk, get involved since it's coming up because February is almost over. So that's coming up in April. And there, for the folks who are all over the world, donate. That's why I'm doing the $2 Tuesdays, because I'm not in Atlanta anymore. I don't know if I'll be there at that time, but still there are so many different ways that you can support. So if you know someone that you want to sponsor or if you want to get involved, check it out because it's a very important cause that's near and dear to my heart, just because of my own personal reasons. But and then y'all already know how I am. I'm like Black women over everything. I'm incredibly biased and unapologetic about it. So I'm all about supporting Black women in their endeavors. So, yeah, cop some books. Look, get Kenni her coins, all right? Support the organization, all that good stuff. I appreciate you coming on. It was just, it's awesome to just kind of get to know more about what you're doing. I just think it's great, honestly. So I'm really glad that I was able to have you on. Even, I know you're like, I don't know this damn girl, but still agree to be on. So I'm very grateful.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, all right, y'all. Y'all already know how this goes. Make sure that you check out everything that Kenni has going on social media. So you can check out all of her writing on Amazon. Go ahead and run the coins so you can read the books. And make sure you check out the Let Your Voice Be Heard Foundation. You can go on the website or the Facebook page, get all the info you need, and get involved. Donate, do the Till Walk, all of that good stuff. All right, y'all. So that is it for this episode. As always, thank you for tuning in. Of course, y'all know I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Y'all really do like me. This is awesome. I really am your favorite lesbian, so I appreciate that. And until next time.
Black Radical Queer Podcast is all about intersectionality and Black queer folks sharing our stories on our own terms. We navigate an array of identities, and BRQ is an outlet where we can see the spectrum of those identities reflected, explored, and celebrated. Black Radical Queer is a ManeHustle Media podcast hosted by Jhavia Nicole, produced and edited by Charmaine Johnson. Music is by Publicity. You can find us on social media by looking up Black Rad Queer. It's BLK RAD QWR. We are on Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter. Same handle regardless, at Black Rad Queer. BLK RAD QWR. We also have a Facebook discussion group that's just called BRQ Discussion Group, and you can also listen wherever you get your podcasts. So we're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, Google Play, all those types of things, and we have our home base that's on Libsyn, so you can listen on there as well. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Make sure you come on back around next week to see what we have for you. And all right, y'all, I'm out.
ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.